Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to our session on urban water circularity. My name is Michelle Heb, and I'm coordinating the Swiss Water Partnership. The Swiss Water Partnership is a multi-stakeholder platform. We bring together around 70 Swiss organizations from academia, civil society, public, and private sectors. And our goal is to provide a space for our members to network, to learn, and to jointly contribute to solving global water challenges. And we are also very happy and proud when we, as we do today, can bring our members together to share their expertise. So we have organized this session together with 6 of our members. We have from academia, EAWAG, the University of Applied Science and Arts, Northwestern Switzerland, and the Zurich University of Applied Science. And then from the private sector, we have contributions from CIVAS, Oxile, and South Pole. But today we don't only want to bring the expertise of our members together, but also the expertise of you all, our audience. So this leads me to the session overview. We are going to start with a brief thematic introduction on the topic by Vasco Shelbert, who is a project coordinator at EAWAG, and Akanksha Jain, who is a youth coordinator at the Swiss Water Partnership. And so after this, we really want to hear from you, discuss with you various aspects of urban water circularity, and we will organize this in a World Café. So how this will work exactly, don't worry, this will be explained in just a little bit. And then in the end, we have a closing statement from Christoph Lüthi, who is head of the Sundek department at EAWAG, and he will close the session. And with this, I'm handing over to the first speakers with the thematic introduction. Thank you.
So, good morning. One of our sincerest hopes for this session is to fully engage the audience. And in order for that to happen, I believe it's my responsibility to introduce the topic well. Global innovations for urban water circularity. What is this circularity we speak of? For far too long, we have flushed away human waste ever since the invention of the sewer. And the concept of out of sight, out of mind has been very prevalent. This linear approach of collecting the wastewater, treating it, hopefully, and then disposing it is simply not very sustainable in the long run. Different wastewater streams have so much untapped potential. Gray water that you see on the left, when it's not mixed with the much more notorious fecal matter, it's much easier to treat for water reuse. Concentrated black water allows us to derive energy from it in the form of heat and electricity far more efficiently. Oh, I had some animations in there. Urine, when collected separately, makes fertilizer that can be used. And source separation, bottom line is, it allows us to be more efficient. And circularity, which is essentially bringing back these resources into the system, water, energy, nutrients, this is going to be the key forward. Why can we no longer turn a blind eye towards circular solutions? Demand and impact. We have a phenomenally growing demand of not just water, but other resources as well. And the impact, the environmental and health impact created by untreated wastewater is simply undeniable. Now that the what and the why of circularity is clear, the question remains how. All this is much easier said than done. And thankfully, we have here with us Vasco Shelbert from Sundek EAWAG, who has recently compiled a list of key ingredients that allow us to successfully introduce circularity into the system. Can we please invite him with a big round of applause?
Thank you, Akanksha. So in order to answer the how of the question, we have to ask ourselves also what the current challenges are and what are therefore potential ways in addressing and overcoming them, of course. And like Akanksha said, this was the question that we asked ourselves about 2 years ago when we started a so-called Lighthouse project that started, or which we finished last March. And within the Lighthouse project, we assessed and evaluated different cities that have successfully implemented circular solutions, and in our case, decentralized urban water treatment and reuse systems. And to produce generic, which is context-independent outcomes or results, we compared 6 different initiatives that are successfully still today recovering and recycling different resources such as water, nutrients, heat and energy, which operate at different scale, so citywide, but at least at neighborhood scale, and which are located in different contexts, so in high, but also in low and middle income contexts, and which of course use a variety of different technologies and system setups. Overall, as Akanksha introduced, we aimed at identifying the key ingredients for successfully implementing a circular solution in an urban area. So our results show overall that innovative circular solutions are a systemic and cross-sectoral innovation that not only challenges the established infrastructure itself, but also the manner in which it's currently planned, operated, and maintained. And this asks for substantive innovation and transformation in the affected utilities, but also the related stakeholder groups. Within the study, we also were able to expose 3 generic models for implementation of circular solutions. I will take you through them. First, a policy-induced and network or market-based model as exemplified by San Francisco and Bengaluru, which arguably represent the most transformative model that we discovered. With on-site systems implemented in various buildings citywide, they shift the key responsibilities from the public service providers, so the utilities, to private entities, which are developers, the firms, the owners, and even residents. Thus, ultimately, private actors plan, implement, operate, and maintain the circular solution, which then are permitted, supervised, and sanctioned by the public authorities. In this model, the role of the utility shifts from a full-fledged top-down control to network facilitation and system intermediation. The second model is a neighborhood scale model, which we found in Hamburg and Helsingborg, and which follow a more conventional, still utility-based approach. There, a public utility still largely covers water and sanitation services, but which are occasionally complemented with private sector involvement. This model, in our case, typically applies advanced source separation and recovery solution, and therefore this implies that the traditional institutional and regulatory boundaries between the waste, water, and energy sector, but also between the public and private spheres, are transcended. And third, manifold hybrid models in between these, let's call them ideal types, may exist, in which a circular solution is installed at a district scale, but still mostly managed by private actors, and in our case, as we found it, by the Resident Welfare Association. Now, in the course of the Lighthouse project, we also created some flowcharts of the, or overview charts of the models that we looked at. Here is a typical example from the Bengaluru area, so for a residential area in Bengaluru. Just to give some context and understanding how such a system can look like, you can see that the gray water and black water are separately collected, but then combined to wastewater, and in the basement of the building, you have a treatment system with a primary, secondary, and tertiary treatment step, which then makes the water fit for reuse, for example, for landscaping and horticulturing. More and more, there are also advanced treatment steps included, so as a 4th treatment, so to say, which then also can make the water fit for reuse for laundry services or construction businesses. For all of the cases that we looked at, we have compiled case reports, including those flowcharts. You can download them open source on our webpage. Coming to the overall findings and the key ingredients, first and foremost, proactive and participative stakeholder management, because Implementing a circular solution is to a large extent a communication and an administration project. This means that you need a dedicated system integrator that coordinates and aligns a large number of stakeholders with their varying interests, and which coordinates a dense and transdisciplinary network which participatively creates solutions. This is needed to overcome the boundaries between the sectors, so water, energy, sanitation, and also between the public and the private spheres. Second, an adequate governance arrangement, and most importantly, continued political support. This is essential to the allocation of continued and adequate human and financial resources. Then third, the financial arrangements, of course, because a key challenge for circular solutions are their still comparably high capital expenditures and operational expenditures, especially when compared to conventional and often highly subsidized centralized solutions. Thus, finding financially and economically viable system designs and funding mechanisms is a key task for any city that wants to implement circular solutions. Then adapting the legal and regulatory framework accordingly, because circular solutions combine previously separated waste streams, or they separate previously combined waste streams and thus produce new wastes, new raw materials, and new products. So those must be reflected in the legal and regulatory framework. In addition, a well-defined permitting pathway for the systems, including quality monitoring and enforcement system, are essential. Then fifth, a proactive market formation and development of business models. Just because circular solutions generate new raw materials and new products, the creation of attractive business models are essential to establish actual markets for those products. This then also links back to the adaptation of the legal and regulatory framework. And moreover, to enhance technical compatibility between the system components and also to foster the diffusion of the circular solutions, industry internal standards and norms are required, as well as certified training systems, including information materials. And last but not least, the increase of overall legitimacy of circular systems and water reuse, which is achieved by an active communication strategy and public outreach strategy, as well as demonstration objects, that work as proof of concept. So that's it from my end.
Thank you very much, Vasco. Can we please applaud him? Thank you very much. With this introduction now, we move towards the core of our session. Our discussion today will be focused around essentially 5 subgenres. As I introduce to you each topic and the expert leading this discussion, I would like you to take note because you will be directly engaging with these experts on several tables. Firstly, we have Dorothy Spuler and Vasco Schelbert from Sandeck Airwag. Could you give us a wave? And the audience, could you give us a cheer for them? An enabling environment with the right set of policy instruments is going to be crucial to implement any circular solutions successfully, and that will be the discussion of this table. Next up, like 2 sides of a coin, circular solutions have both opportunities and risks when it comes to their impact on the environment and the health. To discuss this very pertinent topic, we have Marina Peter from University of Applied Sciences, Northwest Switzerland. And the audience, again, I ask you for a cheer. The third topic we will be addressing today is technology and innovation. I think we all understand that you cannot think of circularity and mainstreaming it without the right innovation and technologies coming into the market. To lead this discussion, we have firstly Fajar Mushtaq from Oxile. Fajar, could you give us a wave? And Max Grau from the University of Applied Sciences in Zurich. Our last table in the in-person room setting is led by Michael Kropak from Sivas. There he is in the back. And again, to mainstream circular solutions, we agree that we need good, sustainable business models, and that's what the discussion there will be focused on. The online audience, I hope you can hear me, and we haven't forgotten about you. The discussion online will be led by Laura Belagamba from South Pole, and the topic that she will be facilitating, oh, that's her. Maybe a cheer for her. Yes. The topic she will be facilitating is the changing role of private sector engagement on water. Very, very important. Now that you know the 5 topics, let's talk format. How this is going to work is we're going to keep you on our feet at least for a little bit, and we will do this in a World Café fashion. What that means is you get to choose your first table of discussion. I hope you remember what the different topics were and what the different speakers were. I will put the slide back up again, no worries. Here you will spend 20 minutes to discuss, brainstorm, come up with ideas together. Then our beloved timekeeper, Christoph Luthi, there he is. He will buzz you, and it will be time for you to move to the next table. After 20 minutes, you will make the switch to the next table. You repeat the process, and towards the end, we will report back to plenary, where each of the table leads will give us a summary of the brilliant ideas that you have discussed at your table. Just to clarify, each person in the audience gets to be part of 2 discussions out of the 4 that are in person here, and the online audience gets to be part of a very engaging discussion on private sector involvement. I hope that was clear. Now I'm going to give the audience time to move to their tables. If the table leads could make it very clear what topic they are dealing with to help the audience out, I urge you to get up, stretch, and head to your tables. Thank you very much.
Hello, can you hear me well? I think we are only on the online session. Super, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for participating. Let me share my screen very quickly, and please, if someone can give me a heads up if you can see the slides, that would be great. Let me see if that works, and if you can see.
Yes.
Wait, this is the presentation. Wait, I'll redo it. That's it. I have problems in, sorry, apologies. I have problems in starting the presentation mode. Now that should be it. Okay. Can you confirm you can see my screen?
We do see.
But it's
see
not
your,
in presentation mode.
Yeah, I'll do that now. Give me 1 sec. I need to move it in the second screen so that it's easier for me to see it. All right. Oh, it stopped. I apologize. I don't know what's going on.
No worries at all. No, perfect.
Here we are. Okay, we made it. Thank you so much for your patience. So we are here to discuss, of course, the global innovations for urban water circularity, state of the art, and more in depth, we want to see what is the role of corporates in such innovative space. So we'll give a little bit of introduction to set the conversation in this coffee round, and then we'll split in most probably 3 different breakout rooms to discuss this topic based on everyone's experience and background. So water is a crucial resource for human consumption and the overall urban metabolism. The quantity of water available is imbalance in all its forms, but its quality and utilization efficiency are a matter of concerns across the globe. We are not striving for net zero water, as water is actually needed to grow a cucumber, but we need to make it more efficient and sustainable. With increasing urbanization, the quantity and quality of consumable water are deteriorating rapidly in major parts of the world. Urban water security is then at risk, which impedes economic, environmental, and social development. Thus, there is a need for global and local action at all levels to engage on water to allow a sufficient quantity of water available in present and future conditions. Rethinking urban water systems through circular economy and resilience principles offers an opportunity to tackle these water challenges by providing a systemic and transformative approach to delivering water supply and sanitation services in a more sustainable, inclusive, efficient, and resilient manner. A little bit of understanding of what are the main freshwater uses. So agriculture, irrigation accounts for more than 70% of water used worldwide. 16% is used for municipalities, and 20% is mainly used by the industry sector. However, we cannot think that each sector can tackle those challenges by itself, and we need a collective action. And especially we need industries and corporates to jump into the game and collaborate. It takes a village. Water is a complex topic, as we all know, and we need to be willing to collaborate. Engage in collaboration to build on knowledge and understanding of what is already there. Companies, corporates need to contribute to these challenges. The importance of science-industry partnership, which are private, public, cross-sectoral, intermunicipal cooperation, so putting together developers, engineers, planners, decision makers, water utilities, local and national governments is evident throughout the literature. So now we are going to have a conversation about what you think are the main challenges and best examples for cooperation in tackling these water challenges and understanding what corporates can do to enhance urban water circularity. Let me see. So I'll just briefly introduce what we are going to discuss with my colleagues from South Pole. So Natasha, me, and Leah will run the 3 different breakout rooms. As we were saying, we are going to discuss the changing role of the private sector on water. What does a commitment to collective action mean? So how do we help companies, cities transition from their current linear system of consumption and waste to a long-lasting and regenerative circular model? We're going to go through these questions that we have on the right. So if you have any positive example of collecting action, especially where private sector stakeholders played a positive role in addressing urban water challenges. If you don't have a specific experience, no worries. We just want to understand, based on your background and experience, what are your expectations? And also, what do you think are the main challenges and what are the tools that we could use to enhance this collaboration? So let me now stop sharing my screen. I'll see if I can create the 3 breakout rooms. They should be with around 6-7 people each.
I think we can also try to aim for 2 breakout rooms, given the number of participants, or is there?
So yes, someone is dropping. So let me just give me 3 minutes. I'm just gonna maybe create 2 breakout rooms because we have around 15 people. So we can maybe just create 2 people in each of the rooms. One more here and 2 more here. That should be working. So I'm gonna be in the second room, and then there is room 3. I've canceled room 1, and Natasha can run it. I'm gonna open the rooms. Let me know if everything works well.
Okay, last sentences. Charles, we have come to the end of the second round. And what we'd like to do now is collect a bit of the main takeaways from each table. And we'll be starting with table 1, which is still discussing. Who's going to report from table 1? Vasco.
Is it working? Yeah. Okay, we were talking about the enabling environment, and first of all, factors or ingredients which are actually supporting an enabling environment, and also challenges to create an enabling environment. And as you can imagine, a wide array of subjects came up. I'll try to focus on 2 of them. So first of all, the interlinkage between, I would say, a political will and to foster circular solutions, but then also to align legal and regulatory frameworks that actually, for example, can create a demand for the respective products. That would be, and then also for actual allow for business models and to be created. I would center some of the findings around that nexus, so to say, and the other would be around like incentives for also for like social acceptance of these kind of systems, and like include the risk factor and also the economic factors for the users who actually have to reuse that water and pay for the services. Yeah, I would kind of center it around those 2.
Thanks a lot. No, that's great. Thanks, Vasco. Then we'll go to the public health table. Marina.
Thank you very much. We had a very broad discussion about risks in principle, so not only public health, but also focusing on the environmental risk and community awareness engagement. So many takeaway messages from our side. So I think first message is, yes, there is a lot of risks because we are changing from like centralized systems partly to decentralized systems and getting very close to the communities, to the people, households. So final acceptance and health risk, environmental risk related, how well the communities can manage and also people can manage the technologies which are there. And this is very much strongly linked to their awareness and their acceptability. So here the issue of really acceptability of the technologies come up very strongly. And it could go through awareness campaigns, it could be going through local communities, but since it's very context dependent, the focus becomes very local. So one of the suggestions was finally in the end of discussion that it's good to start to focus on local and context specific interventions and then start to upscaling from that. So another takeaway was based on the scale up of the technologies in general, scale up. So there is the issue of sustainability because there are also examples of the circular technologies of water circularity technologies not working or not performing. So which generates a case where there's bad examples and then the acceptability of the government, for example, authorities is being reduced through to that. And basically there's also lost opportunities. So in this case, it's about setting up sustainability and thinking about sustainability while implementing, right? And I think very third part kind of discussion we had was also not only about negative aspects of risk and environmental and health. That was our first table discussion was very negative somehow. So we tried during the second table discussion to change it in a different way and to think about opportunities because there is also risks related on not using the technologies for circularity. So, and this is of course related to climate change, adaptation to the climate change, resilience and so on. So we have to bring it also to the positive aspect and see and include the risks of not using those technologies in the risk management frameworks which have to be developed. So, and final point is the monitoring. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for real-time rapid test monitoring, the field which is really strongly developing at the moment, which can try to address some of the risks to health and to environment. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Marina. And then the next table is the business models. Michael?
Yes, so we have discussed mainly what's the role of businesses and entrepreneurs in this whole equation. And I mean, very simple question. Someone needs to build those systems. Someone needs to operate those systems. So that's really the role where businesses come in. Of course, the question is, what's the role of the business? What's the role of the government? We had some discussions there. If the government's completely absent, then the business might take up more compared to other setups. We had quite interesting discussions because you all know that investors don't like water and they even dislike sanitation even more. So we had some great examples from India where the government also is helping with different programs, with guarantees, with different partners that can really help support and build the knowledge, but also the financial means of startups, of enterprises that can really make a change in this field, and then eventually make a business out of it, which means that you need to cover at least your costs. Ideally, you can make a profit. We sort of, the big elephant in the room was, at the end of the day, the government, right? So what do we do with the government? It causes headaches. It can also help, right? So we were still debating a little bit, what do we do at the beginning? Do we hide and don't show what we're doing until we have a system ready, and then we can actually start changing regulations, and then we can start changing also the way in how the government can actually endorse technologies and approaches, or do we go directly to the government and discuss with them to really change the policy to make technologies happen? So here we're still looking at the right way to go, but we definitely identified the pain points, but we really believe that businesses are crucial to make this shift happen.
Great, thanks a lot. And then technology table. Who's reporting there? Max.
So the two of us going to report back. We had very engaging discussions here. It was very interesting. We kind of had two guiding questions, like what is the role of tech and innovation to reach circularity, but then also obstacles and how to overcome. And then both rounds, we very quickly went over to obstacles and how to overcome them. This is very interesting to observe in both discussions. Nevertheless, just a quick one, like I report back also in its contribution of tech and innovation to circularity. There were a few interesting points. I mean, maybe to start with, the most important one is that we finally managed to recover our nutrients. Now we suck up a lot of nutrients from the soil, bring food and whatever to the cities, and with the wastewater and whatnot, we flush it away into the ocean, and then it's done. It's gone. But like if you reach now with the tech solutions that are on the market and they're coming out, we can close this loop again and bring our nutrients back into the system. So it's very, very, very important contribution of tech innovation for circularity. Other things are like, because of the very tech solutions that are out there, you have better monitoring and sensing options. You get more data, so you improve the availability, like in order for decision making and so on. So it's that's a contribution. Then also like important, more like also that innovators look into retrofitting existing systems, not only like for new greenfield developments. There it's easy. It's harder to do it in a built environment, which is already existing. And modularity. So the more solutions you have, the easier you can plug and play for ever different contexts to reach circularity. So the tech and innovation space can support there. And maybe one important point at the end is also, now we talked a lot about like household wastewater or like community wastewater treatment. It's also important to look at the biggest water users, which is industry, agriculture, and their tech innovation can, for example, contribute a lot to also for industrial circularity. So you look into big water consumers, food, beverage industries, and others to also support there to close loops on site. Then remove the water demand from these industries to have more water available for communities. For example, so that's a good contribution of tech innovation. But I hand over to Bashir now.
I second everything that was said. A very lively discussion, people coming from different parts to solve this equation. And this is actually also how I think the question around how do we overcome the obstacles around technology and innovation to solve water circularity comes from, I think it requires people to come from different sides: engineering, technology, policy, social, regulatory aspects. So this would be one biggest obstacle that we face currently for technology to be adapted easily is this perception that water reuse, for example, is a very expensive endeavor, and end products, for example, are not good enough, and there's a lot of hurdles to be crossed there. So I think one key aspect to solve this big obstacle, I think, would be to really talk more about the good that we can do with water reuse. So think long-term vision, but also not only talk about wastewater. There's a lot of value in water, so showcase that openly. Talk about the nutrients we are recovering, for example, how much water we have, for example, reduced and recycled. So we have to have a very open, positive marketing campaign around this topic of water circularity, how we have around a removal of CO2 from the environment. For example, we need to bring the same energy to water circularity and not just talk about waste. There's a lot of value in this. One of the biggest other obstacles, of course, it's the capital investment cost, right? New technologies like this, it needs a full reframework, right? We have to think about how do we decentralize, modularize, change the planning, bring new tech, which is always so risky, right? And who's going to pay for that? So these are always a big obstacle when we're talking about new technological innovations to solve this problem. And I think here, we also need to have a very open discussion. Does always the consumer need to foot the bill, or does the regulators, for example, our government, for example, subsidize that we can bring these new technological solutions to the consumers, to the market? And does industry also have a role to play in that? Because industries, for example, are one of the biggest polluters of water as well. Do they pay for the, the remediation efforts that we still need to engage in as a society for that? And apart from that, I think it's we also need better regulations, right? The higher the regulations are, the more stringent they are, the more the adaptation needs to be to increase the discharge quality that we are putting out into the system. So we have to come from different angles. We have to have better technology for sure, but we also need better investments from government, from VCs, from industry. And we have to increase the perception of waste not being wastewater, but really it's this value-driven magical resource that we have to protect and make a really positive success story around that. That's the only way to do this.
That was almost the perfect closing words. But we still have one more group that was online.
Yes, thank you.
Can we hear?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, that's fine.
Yes. So one key message in our table was that to foster collective action and the inclusion of corporates in these conversations is that there is a need to have everyone in the same room at the same table and make sure that everyone feels comfortable to raise their own needs and challenges. So how to foster this? A little bit of ideas, I think we have heard already from the previous tables, but have a legal regulatory structured framework to make sure that there is enough space for everyone. Then we need to foster a little bit and work on capacity building between the included stakeholders so that everyone feels, again, comfortable in raising their needs, because sometimes we have big players that makes smaller stakeholders and vulnerable ones less comfortable in raising their voices. And then for that, in an ideal situation, would be great to have maybe someone like a moderator at the table to be able to translate the needs of every stakeholder and try to foster the collective action. As final note from our table, when we, of course, these collective action needs investments, needs financing, but we need to consider the cost of inactions. So highlighting the importance of action and that investing and financing now is never going to be a loss in the long term.
Okay, thank you very much. Which brings us almost to the end of our session here. Thanks for attending. We were looking at global innovations and state of the art. We thought the World Café setup would allow us to go a bit deeper into what it takes and what are the ingredients to scale these decentralized options. In fact, we had an international workshop 2 months ago at EAWAG in Switzerland, where we brought together actors who are already implementing these kind of systems, both from public, private sector, as well as regulatory bodies. And we passionately believe that we are at the very beginning of a big wave of solutions. And one of the things we think has to happen is a better documentation, a better, recording success stories and getting them out across the world. And one of the ideas was to have a platform to start collecting state-of-the-art examples from around the world. I'd like to highlight 2 more sessions that may be of interest if you want to dig a bit deeper. The first one is Transitions to Circular Management in Cities. This is brought to you by UNESCO and OECD. That's at 4 p.m. this afternoon. And the second one, also by the Swiss Water Partnership, is Building Youth Engagement in Global Water Processes. That's together with the Global Youth Movement. Thank you, everybody. If you want to stay in touch, please get in touch with us. We can also put you in touch with the group that is looking at these global circularity solutions. Thanks a lot for joining, and all the best.